Are books useful? And what is the future of things like making video shows like this show? On this episode of Scratchpad, we'll cover both. I'm Chris Brogan. Hey, welcome to Scratchpad. I'm Chris Brogan. On this episode of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about two details that kind of don't immediately connect together, but they do. If you think about it, people think of me as an author, as somebody who blogs, who's made podcasts, who makes video shows like this one. What are all of those things? They're transference of ideas. That's all they are. So the fact that I write books, I'm working on my 10th book, is just saying, hey, this is one way you can send ideas somewhere. But making a video show like this one is a way to say that I can have ideas as well. So I got this pitch from a company, an Indian company, who said, hey, we make this app. I'm not going to talk about the app because I don't want to say anything good or bad or otherwise about it. Hello, Michael. Good morning to you, handsome. But they said basically, it was really interesting pitch because you could tell they don't know anything about me. They're like, well, books are dead. You know that books are dead, and we've made this platform that lets you monetize your videos. And I was like, well, you know what? Every platform you can monetize your videos. There's lots of ways to put kind of a gate in front of things so that you can charge money for people coming to see the video. I mean, I could set up a Patreon for this show and you'd, give me $5 for the show or whatever it is. And then I'd make the money that I'd make off a book, right? I make $2 a mainstream book. When I sell trust agents, oh, that's a messy box now. When I sell trust agents, hey, Cheryl, good to see you. What I could tell you is that I only make like $1.90 a book. Now I've made over the history of trust agents since 2009, over $1 million in consulting, in speaking, in all the other things you make. That money's long gone, by the way. I got nothing. But I can tell you that, and as that, the book itself, you don't make a whole lot of money. So these people were like, well, books are dead. So I'm like, well, first off, books aren't dead. There are application reasons why to have a book, what a book does for you, what's the value of it. But I didn't want to have the fight, so I just deleted the email. So I don't really care what they're pitching. I decided I'm not into what they're pitching. It's fine. So, but they're not wrong. So reading is down so dramatically. Before COVID, the U.S. Department of Labor and Statistics reported that the average American household was consuming no more than 19 minutes of the written word every day. 19 minutes every day. And when I say the written word, I don't mean books. I mean texts, emails, tweets. Someone like a Carrie Gorgon can send a tweet, long time no see, and I love books, right? But you are absolutely in the exception category according to the stats. Hey, John, good to see you. Always happy to connect with you. So if people aren't reading, it turns out, by the way, they're reading even less during the epidemic when everybody thought they were going to have the chance. So it's a little late for you then, isn't it? Hello from India back. Is it Ankit? And Keith, how do I pronounce your name, please? So if we're not reading, and if we are consuming so much video that both Netflix and YouTube had to agree to throttle back their output bandwidth to keep the internet safe and alive, then should we be considering books? Should we be making books? Should we do anything with books? My opinion is yes. My opinion is there are still reasons for books. There's still value for books. But that if it's book only, and if you stop at just book, you are not getting those ideas transferred where they need to go. There needs to be more. If it's a business book or an instructional book, then maybe a course goes with it. There's so much benefit to having a video version. And I can't tell you enough about audiobooks. Josh Kaufman, who wrote The Portable MBA and several other really great books, one day in Portland, Oregon, first time I've ever met Josh in my life, grabbed me by the lapels and said, Brogan, your next book deal with your publisher, get the audio rights. There is nothing like having the audio rights to your books. You get so much money from that compared to the book rights. Don't even fight them on the book rights. Whatever they want to give you for the book, fine. Own the audio rights. And he was right. He was absolutely right. There's also a lot of interesting things once you own the rights to the books that I don't want to talk about in this video, but it's interesting that that's an option. So I make video shows. Carrie Gorgon and we make a show called The Backpack Show, and that runs every weekday at 10 a.m. Eastern. I make this show, Scratchpad, which comes on whenever the heck I feel like it. The real important point is that if we are going to use some of these tools, we have to understand what they're for. They're for idea transference and they're for a way to help us upskill ourselves in some way. So as Fred points out, I'm more into audiobooks than written right now. Me too. I have barely cracked the page on written books. There's a few examples. There are a few examples where, like Attention by Rob Hatch. This is my buddy Rob, my coworker Rob. I read Attention because, I had to, because I'm a coworker. So I think that the next big detail is taking these ideas and transferring them in ways that people are going to consume them. So what becomes the challenge there? Well, so one other thing with books is when you read a book in digital format or paper format, there's object permanence. So one thing that we might have to do is even if we're going to do live streams like this, or when we do recorded video or whatnot, one thing is we might have to go back to adding textual elements to it to make it a little bit better for people. So object permanence is one. Another is that people don't tend to structure their information the same way when they make a video or an audio if it's not anchored to the shape of a book. And when I say the shape of a book, think about how information is packaged in a book. Think about how information is, we'll start here and we'll work from this foundation and then we grow to here and whatever. What I do when I make a video show is my goal is to get your attention, keep your attention, and earn your attention throughout the course of the video. We're at 6 minutes or so in this video. That's already a lot of people tuning out. So people start at 3 minutes, they stop. People get to 6 or so minutes, they stop. 10 minutes is the wall. 10 minutes or less, you can put something on LinkedIn without live. 10 minutes or more, YouTube likes it. So a guy like Eric Worre, who has tons of ideas, has published some books. Eric is making all kinds of video and audio because what he's doing is working on the whole concept of I need to get my information to the people who need it when they need it. And that's the big goal. So the secret of this whole episode today in Scratchpad is that what we're not doing is not saying books are dead, books are bad, books are whatever. I don't think they are. But if it's book only without a few exceptions, you are running into some dangerous waters. And the few exceptions are things like children's books. Mike has a children's book that he wrote, super fun, 3 years ago now, called Donald, Don't Grab That Pussy. It's a children's book, but also, of course, for us. And so it's really important. And it's a matter of, children's books, that format, being able to turn pages, that's still alive and well. But, and kids, by the way, are still consuming children's books. There are a few categories where people are still doing that kind of thing. But business books, definitely not. Memoirs are being pushed into audio a lot more so. A lot more people are doing memoirs. There's also one other detail I want to make here on this Scratchpad episode. I want to point out filmmaker and documentary person and YouTuber Ash Coyote, who we had on the Backpack Show a month or so ago, said that the way people consume YouTube, especially younger-ish people, the way people consume YouTube is that they want the information up front. They want the information just pushed to them fast so they don't have to sift through all kinds of precursor, preamble, warm-up, setup, and all that sort of a thing. If you work really hard on delivering out your information in that way, you're going to have a better experience. Eric points out the blitz. Yeah, you got to get them where they are everywhere. Mike says, my hair is awesome. My hair is luxurious, Michael. I shaved it bald at the beginning of the coronavirus, and here I am back again. I have no control over it. It's just luxurious locks. Cheryl's laughing, I'm assuming, at Mike's book title. And Barbara says, and yet I spend an hour twice a week with Heather Cox Richardson's videos. And I don't know who that is, but I assume that she also writes books. Kieran Moy, help me out anytime you can. What is more important, content or production quality in knowledge transfer with video? So I did a video about this. You can find it you're on my Facebook. So you can find it on my Facebook, or you can go to youtube.com/Chris Brogan. And I talked about how to be a better guest. And so the first thing I point out is audio. Audio is the most important part about video. The second most important part is, of course, a decent camera, decent lighting. You can have a good set. This set's pretty crap, right? I have to change some stuff because this is what I've set up for Scratchpad right now, and I'm going to put some new stuff there. And this is the Backpack Show. So just one wiggle of my camera and I have two sets, but this one obviously needs some lights and things like that. And that computer's dead right now. So, a set matters if you're going to do video. Intention matters, but your real question was, what about quality of knowledge transfer with video? So when you do knowledge transfer, I mentioned already something like bullets or maybe some ways to kind of highlight and do object permanence around data. The other is you have to think about you have to speak a little different with different energy. You can hear it in my voice, up and down, up and you have to do that because you need to keep people's attention. So it's important. John asked a book question. When do you move from self-directed publishing management to publisher lead management? I don't understand your question the way it's written, John. Maybe can you send that a different way? Different words, maybe. Tell it to me like I'm 6 years old, like one of my old bosses used to say. Professor, actually. I got the pronunciation to my name right. Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you. Anytime I can, guess a name right, I feel good. Karanmoy. So with regards to bringing content out, I'm not saying don't make books, but I'm saying that books aren't going to get you all the way there, except for in a very few limited cases like children's books. Instead, you're going to have to look to, can I produce something like this? Can I do books, audio, and everything? And not because you do or don't want to do it, and not because you're not a good host or a good whatever, you're too fat, too ugly, too dumb, too something, probably too everything. Do it because this is how people are consuming and picking up information. That's why to do it. Super important. That's all I had for you today. I want to keep these Scratchpad shows a little bit shorter than what we do over on the Backpack Show. So really grateful for you showing up, for being part of it. Isn't a book still a use? I think is your question. Aren't books still useful? Sure, books are still useful, but a useful source of proof. Oh yeah. So if you want to say I'm so important because I wrote a book, you can self-publish. It's really not a big deal. But no, I don't think they're super social proof. However, I say that as a person who's published 9 books, Gordon. And I can tell you that some people say, how bizarre. Gordon, feel free to, you can go a whole sentence if you want. Yes, expertise and authority, but not exactly. I mean, a book just says that you had the wherewithal to sit still. And you know what? A lot of people are paying other people to write books. So I don't trust many people who have their name on a book anymore because I did it the old-fashioned way. I write my books. And I'm not super jazzed by all the people who don't write their books, but suddenly have a book with their name on it because there's book in a box kits and all that. All right, I'm going to take one more question from John, and then we'll get out of here. When do I go from self-published model, I like that, to publishing model where I hire or agree to someone else to manage the process of getting a book out? In my opinion, kind of never. I like to manage all aspects of my book. But, if you need it, and if you need to do a... I don't know, maybe you're not good at structuring a book, or maybe you need some help, or you need to buy someone on this book in a box experiences. I won't crap on it entirely, but again, I'm not a big fan of asterisked authors. I'm certainly not a fan of people who have somebody else write their book for them. It's just not, don't write a book then, make a stupid video like I'm telling you. What's the best way to share information with an audience about a specific topic outside of a book? Podcast, YouTube, LinkedIn. Yes, is the answer to that question, Cheryl. All of those things. So you can make an audio podcast if you want. People are still consuming them, but again, consuming them less than they're consuming video during the pandemic. Because why? People have less of a commute for a lot of us. A lot of us are working from 10 feet from our bed, so it's not necessarily the same. We don't super eagerly stick stuff in our ears and leave our eyes uneducated. If we look around the room while we're listening to a podcast, we suddenly find a lot of other things to fill that void with. So big fan of it. All right, let's get out of here. I promise we'll get back some other time. Thanks so much for this. Chris@chrisbrogan.com or wherever you're commenting now. Follow up some questions there. I'm always happy to talk with you. This has been Scratchpad. I'm Chris Brogan.